Thank you, Senator Clinton, for a good morning of testimony. You displayed one of the assets necessary for the job. You've sat there for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And we look forward to the afternoon session. And I should say that to everybody here. It's been a remarkably attentive and quiet audience, so we appreciate that very much. So we will recess until no sooner than 2 o'clock, and we'll try to make it as absolutely close on 2 as possible. We stand in recess. Thank you.
So you're watching Secretary of State nominee Hillary Clinton's confirmation hearings before the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. They have taken a break, a lunch break, we presume, and they will return at about 2 o'clock. Mrs. Clinton laid out an ambitious agenda discussing a broad array of tasks and challenges that await her should she be confirmed. Those include from topics from Iraq to Iran to Israel, from the economic crisis to energy to the environment. And there you see her leaving the room, but she will return for the afternoon session. Joining me at my side, watching all of this unfold, Errol Louis. He is the Daily News columnist and host of the WWRL Morning Show. Wanted to get your thoughts on all of this, but I will say it has been a very cordial event thus far. Is there going to be any fireworks, any friction?
Well, we were promised fireworks. There are a number of Republicans who said that they were going to give her a hard time about her husband's ties to various donors who have interest before the State Department on some level. It didn't happen. It didn't materialize. And part of it is, I think, much to the credit of Hillary Clinton. She bowled them over. She bowled them over with facts. She obviously did a stunning amount of preparation. I mean, they were going into all kinds of nooks and crannies and talking about the law of the sea and the Helsinki Commission and all kinds of things. And I think that diffused a lot of the tension. I mean, you could only look small next to that kind of a performance by bringing up some of these conflicts of interest questions. Well,
she's known for her preparation skills, but it sounded like she's been in the job for a long time already. I mean, yeah, she was familiar with every minutia of every item of interest that they brought up.
I saw Chelsea Clinton sitting behind her. I don't know who a lot of the rest of those folks were. It looked like she brought her whole staff. She had her notes with her. I mean, she really obviously did a lot of homework, and she's said to have spoken with all kinds of diplomats and past officials, and she learned quite a lot in just a couple of months.
Well, if there is going to be any friction, as you mentioned, it is probably going to come from her husband's donors and contributions from foreign countries. And I'll quote from Senator Lugar at the outset, who said, we want the Clinton Foundation to refuse foreign contributions outright to avoid any possible pitfalls that could possibly disrupt foreign policy. And that was something that was reiterated by a number of the senators there. Is that likely to happen?
Oh, it's more likely than not. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not as if the Clinton Global Initiative needs a lot of money. They've raised many, many millions. I think they're much more interested in power than money, frankly, the Clintons. And rather than have any kind of taint or have her drawn back before this body with real hostile questioning. The other key thing, of course, that Lugar said was when she is Secretary of State, signaling as the ranking member, the senior Republican there, signaling to the rest of his conference, the Republicans, that this is going to be a done deal unless there's something really, really bad that happens.
Now, a note to me yesterday was that we heard Bill Clinton's lawyer saying that they're going to reveal all once she becomes confirmed, once she's confirmed for the job. What if there's something that's potentially a problem in all of that? What's going to happen? I mean, it's not like they can reverse the confirmation.
Well, and that's why I think the timing was on the level of after confirmation, before full disclosure. But let's be clear. It's not as if Hillary Clinton is going to change foreign policy because somebody gave $50,000 for the charitable organization that her husband runs. You know, the specter of conflict of interest, you really have to kind of prove it. And it was always more of a hypothetical concern. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, again, she hasn't been confirmed yet. She hasn't done anything. She's had no chance to influence foreign policy in favor of a donor, potentially or actually. So I think what you'll find is some unsavory characters, maybe some questionable names will come up, after which all ties will be severed. And then the Republicans will have to decide if they want to make a federal case out of it.
So they'll deal with any possible compromises then, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. One thing that came up, a term that is rather new to my ears, something called smart power, and I wonder if that is a signal that they're moving more toward diplomacy as opposed to any military solutions that we've seen to have dominated the past administration.
I think you could read that into the campaign, the Obama campaign. He talked a lot about getting away from force as a first option and moving more towards diplomacy, towards revitalizing a lot of the multilateral connections that had been frayed during the Bush years. Smart power then becomes the new cliche. I went and looked it up, and it's the name of a book and a foreign policy article from a few years ago. I think it'll become the kind of catchword, the buzz phrase on which you hook a pretty simple concept, which is don't go in shooting, work harder on your diplomacy, try to create what the United States has always relied on, which is a broad set of diplomatic relations that are carefully tended to so that the Army is not the option of first choice in dealing with our foreign policy.
All right, so we're awaiting the second half of these confirmation hearings. Do you think it'll be tougher on Mrs. Clinton, or do you think it'll be more of the status quo?
Oh, I think it's all downhill for her in the sense that she's going to coast through the rest of this day. There may be one or two backbenchers. I think that's what most of the people in the press will be watching for, who maybe want to make a few headlines, maybe get their names known in Republican conservative circles by maybe blasting her a little bit. But, you know, we know Hillary Clinton, and we know she's more than ready for them.
All right, Errol Louis of the Daily News and also WWRL, thanks so much for talking to us, sharing your thoughts and your candor in all of this, and we look forward to reading you and hearing more from you on the radio.
Thank you.
All right. In the meantime, there's lots of news that's going on today, and we've been watching the stock market and Wall Street and what's been happening. The numbers seem to have been rather flat today, but for more on that, we have Annika Pergament. She's standing by with the Fortune Business Report.